Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Your Way podcast. So today we are talking playing a bigger game. So many of you listening are high achieving, high performers, and you have this big vision for yourself and your life, but the logistics or the how can feel somewhat daunting or overwhelming. And I know often there is this concern of, but if I was to expand my capacity and play a bigger game, I'm going to lose myself in the process. I'm going to compromise my health. I'm going to compromise my values. Add into that the fact that many of you have burnout in your history or in your current lives, and it all kind of adds into this mix of, I want to play a bigger game, but the idea of playing a bigger game is scary for me. And so this is what we are going to dive into today. So you've heard me talk about expanding capacity, right? And how in order to step into that next level, we have to expand our capacity. And this looks like expanding our capacity for the stuff we want, and also expanding our capacity for the stuff that comes with it that doesn't necessarily feel that comfortable. Because it's actually in the expansion of the capacity to do or feel the uncomfortable stuff that we are actually able to expand into the thing that we want. You can't have one without the other. You cannot get around the discomfort in order to get to where you want. But how on earth do you actually do the process and keep yourself sane, healthy, and aligned as you go? Are you ready? You might want to take notes today. This is going to be a chunky thing. Think of it as like a training. So I'm going to talk you through this in terms of how I have stepped into playing a bigger game this year. Okay. So you've heard me talk about the fact that the start of this year was very, very challenging. And one of the things that I've really felt pulled towards it is, who do I need to be in order to show up as a leader in this space, as someone who feels like they are making a positive impact in the world and in the coaching industry, and the coaching industry has had its knocks this year. How do I do all of this and maintain my sense of self? And there's 3 areas that I want to look at. So the first one I will just look at quite briefly, and that is expanding my capacity to be in relationship and to be in a marriage. So often we think that marriage should be this like perfect, everything honeymoon period all of the time. Now, the reality of a relationship, if you let it be, is that the relationship is the place that will show you your patterns, will show you your work, and will guide you through your healing process. But that requires you to be able to be with the discomfort of looking at the patterns, taking responsibility for your part in the patterns, working through the patterns, and actually being a supportive team. And so how this has gone down for me this year actually looks like me getting a lot more support personally. So we have together engaged in couples therapy, but then separately, I am also doing my own work. I'm now working weekly with a therapist so that I can make sure that I am cleaning my stuff up as we expand our capacity to be together, to work through our patterns. And as part of that as well, there are more uncomfortable conversations, and there is more jostling, but there's also a deepening of the relationship. And so that is how I'm expanding my capacity. I'm not trying to do it on my own, because doing it on my own looks like I think everything is natural, or everything feels hopeless, or I feel like there's no way that it can carry on and there's no way that it can work. Having somebody else holding up a mirror, helping me see my stuff in the process is very, very helpful. And then I also see how, okay, well, actually how I'm showing up in my marriage is also how I'm showing up in work. Like these patterns are the same. I'm repeating the patterns. So that's a little bit on the marriage. And then in terms of the business side of the fence, okay, so I know that I want to serve more people. I want more time for creativity, and I still want time for me. And I want to be the most effective leader and coach that I can be. Okay. So what that has looked like this year is investing in a weekly one-to-one business coach, being part of a group, a supportive group that doesn't tell you it's just your thoughts, that allows me actually, the group is really about deepening the relationship that I have with myself, and then looking at how I apply that in business. So it really sits alongside the therapy work that I'm doing very, very nicely. And again, it would have been really easy back in April, after having had quite low income months for me, January, February, March, it would have been easy to be like, no, I can't do this. But I knew that in order to play a bigger game, to get past some of my blocks, I needed some more support. So that's where the group came in, and then where the business coaching, the one-to-one coaching came in. And that has made a big, big difference. And I'm now in this space where I've got the Address and Unlock group that's running through to the end of the year. And so I'm recording this a week before it comes out. So the first Your Way call for the 12-month membership is tomorrow. Now, at the moment, the amount of stuff that my assistant does is just enough for one person. But I recognize that there's an awful lot of things that I still do in my business that take me away from delivery, creative thinking, and time for me. And so what I am doing at the moment is bringing in another assistant. So there will be somebody else who supports the business for an additional 40 hours a month. Now, is my business, is it set up at a place where I really need that support right now? No, it isn't. But if I look at who I need to be to expand in to the next layer of where my business needs to go, there needs to be more support in place. And there is so much truth in what got you here won't get you there. And sometimes what we have to do is look ahead and think, okay, well, where do I want to be a year from now? What that I am doing now is not going to work a year from now. And then we change it now. We change it now so that then we can grow into that next version of ourselves without it being too uncomfortable. So it's a really good question for you to think about in all aspects of your life. Where do you want to be a year from now? And what is going to need to change? What you're going to need to let go of, what you're going to need to do differently in order to get there. And then the other thing that I have recognized that I have needed to do, as I work with more people, as my groups grow, and I don't mean they grow massively, like there's 8 people in Address and Unlock, and there were 9, yeah, so 1 person left. And again, that required me to expand my capacity to be with that, to go through that process. And what I have noticed as I have talked to the Address and Unlock group about Your Way is it's become really, really clear to me how we have to expand our capacity, because with more people, you are dealing with more personality types, more attachment styles, more patterns, and you have to be able to flexibly adapt and work around that. And so another place where I have had to lean in to my discomfort to play a bigger game has been dealing with some of the conversations that have come up with people in the current group about joining the new group. So some people were just straight in, yes, great, send me an invoice, I definitely want to carry on. Other people were comfortable that actually it wasn't the right thing for them right now. And then there was this in-between group. So there were people that were quite annoyed about the fact that I was asking them to make a decision about a new group when they were in a current group. And it brought up some money stuff and like lots of different things. And they leant in and we worked through it. And that required me to play a bigger game, to hold this space. There were people that had various questions or challenges and they needed some support to figure out what was right for them. And that required me to take myself out of the process and really lean into, well, what do they need? What is right for them? Okay. And then there were people that basically ghosted me and ignored me, again, for their reasons. And this is like, none of this stuff is right or wrong, but that also then touched into stuff in me of like, oh shit, well, am I upsetting people? Am I doing things wrong? Like maybe I need to do it. And it showed me where some of my patterns needed more work. And what it all has done is expanded my capacity to show up and lead through the discomfort, through the growth, through the next pieces. And this is what is required to play a bigger game, right? It is about expansion. It's about growth. It's about future thinking. It's about critical thinking. And it's about leaning into the discomfort and the edges. And by the way, getting a ton of support around those edges so that I am taking care of myself first, because that's also been a big lesson. It's very easy for me to be like, this person needs me, I must respond straight away, no matter what is going on for me. So that's been another lesson. Okay, I need to pause. I need to take care of me first. I need to look at the pattern that is trying to get me to respond immediately. I need to be with those parts and help those parts of me feel safe so that I can expand as your way grows and expands. I can expand into a bigger game where I'm not left with burnout at the end, where people within the containers are deeply served, and where all the pillars of my life are managed and balanced. So this is how I have lent into playing a bigger game, expanding my capacity. I'm deeply, deeply grateful for the people in my space who have come and challenged me or created challenges for me, because it's my stuff, not their stuff, right? That has allowed me to do this. And so now, on the day before I start Your Way, I am here in this great space of, I'm supported, I've expanded my capacity, I have grown, and I'm resilient and ready to play a bigger game. And then no doubt tomorrow, the next challenge and the next bit will come up. And like, as I said last week with expanding the baseline, my baseline is now, say it was -5 before, my baseline is maybe now at 20. So now my work is, okay, well, how do I get my baseline up to 25 or 30? If you didn't listen to last week's podcast yet, go back, because this will make more sense when you do. How do I keep expanding? And that is the invitation for you as well. How do you keep expanding? How do you get super clear on what it is that you are going to need and what it is that you are going to need to lose in order to meet the goals and the visions that you have for all aspects of your life? So I hope this has given you something to think about. Come and share and let me know. If you want to look at other ways that I can support you on this, head to the show notes. There's a list of things in there. And my real invitation as you take this material away today is, how do you want to play a bigger game? And what does it look like if you do it your way? Let that land and then come and let me know what you discover. Take care, and I'll see you next week.